Welcome to the Daily Influence, where our mission is to deliver a daily dose of positive influence that can uplift you personally or be shared within your sphere of influence. While not every episode may directly apply to your unique circumstances, we strive to provide insights and inspiration relevant to most people's daily, weekly, and monthly lives. Whether you are tuning in during the morning, noon, or night, the Daily Influence is here for you. Listen, share, and embrace the power of influence in your life.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Daily Influence. I'm Gregg Koleno with the IN Team Series and IA Business Advisors, and we are so excited to have you join us today. Thank you for choosing to spend a little bit of time today listening to us. And joining me today, I have Nate Ruben. I'm really excited to have you meet Nate and learn more about him and have him share his information with us. So Nate, can you tell our listeners a little bit about you?
Sure. Well, wonderful. Thank you for having me today, Greg. To start, I'm in my early 30s, married. I live in the suburbs of Chicago with my wife. I previously ran a marketing agency that I started in my early 20s. I sold that business, and now I do independent consulting, helping out friends along the way to grow their business and have more holistic success in the process.
That's awesome. And congratulations on your young entrepreneurship of starting, building, and selling a business all while you're in your 20s. Very impressive.
Thank you. Sometimes I diminish the accomplishment because I have friends who've done it at a larger scale, or I act like I really didn't have another option. I'm a college dropout, and building a business was just sort of like the thing to do. But I appreciate being acknowledged for it because it was a big chapter of my life and a lot of hard work.
Well, it is a great accomplishment. You deserve it. Nate, what inspired you to start spreading positivity and making a difference in the lives of others?
I think to start, I want to be clear that there was a long time I wasn't very positive. I had a lot of ego, a lot of overconfidence. I felt like things were expected as opposed to everything was a gift or a blessing. And a good story is when I was in my senior year of high school, a teacher gave me a book, and it was Success Through a Positive Mental Attitude. And I read the first 2 pages and I said, what is this shit? And I didn't read any more of it. Well, then life handed me some adversity. I went from being on the top of the world to really starting at the bottom again. And 3 years later, my grandfather gave me that same book. But this time when I read Success Through a Positive Mental Attitude, I was open-minded and I was willing to do things differently and see things differently. And that sparked the change that really taught me positivity is a choice. But if I choose positivity, things tend to work out better.
That's amazing. I have a very similar story that I used to be a pretty negative person. And when I was in high school, Mrs. Lako, my favorite teacher, she was our math teacher, talked about PMA, positive mental attitude. And it was that book. And she even inscribed it on our graphing calculator. So it is a great book. Thank you for reminding me of it. I'm going to read it again. So great tool for our listeners. Check out that book. Thank you. Can you tell us, Nate, about a specific moment or experience when you felt that you made a significant positive impact in someone's life?
Sure. I was thinking about this question, and one of the things that came to mind was when I was at a party. I was at a friend's wedding, and I noticed there was a pretty young lady who'd been sitting alone at a table like most of the wedding. And I decided to go over there and ask her to dance, and we danced, and she had a big smile and a great time. And later I found out that it was her new husband's cousin who had some mental disabilities. And I was completely unaware. But just that act of including her and spending some time, her family thanked me for dancing with her afterwards. And I was like, why are you thanking me? You have a really beautiful daughter and we had a great time dancing. What's the big deal? So just kind of going and putting myself out there led to somebody else having a really fabulous time.
What a sweet story. That is so kind of you to do that. And we're really big on the random acts of kindness and just going up to someone, whether it's you see someone sitting alone, ask them to dance or talk with them, or when you're walking down the street, just smiling or saying hello. It really could change someone's life in a positive way. So thanks for doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just something that has stuck with me because I didn't even realize what could have come from that simple ask.
Well, you probably made a huge positive influence on her through that. So great job. Nate, how do you believe acts of kindness or mentorship or leadership can contribute to creating a more positive and supportive community or workplace environment?
I think that a lot of people have an idea on what a perfect society looks like, and they know how they want to be treated, but very rarely do they know how to create that change. So even though it's very cliche when Gandhi talks about being the change you wish to see, what that basically means is if you want to have people who are giving you a hand out and helping you up and being a mentor, like you need to be that mentor first, because there's always somebody who can benefit from what you have to offer. I like lineages like the martial arts or the 12-step program where people have both a teacher and they have people that they mentor, they teach themselves, and it keeps them right in the middle. And that it creates this sense of community. So I don't know if that answers your question, but that's kind of what I think needs to be in order to create the environment you want. You have to set that tone and that pace.
I agree with you. I think that's great. And yes, you absolutely answered the question. And thank you for sharing that advice. I think that's very valuable and something always to keep in mind. Nate, how do you maintain your own sense of positivity and motivation, especially during challenging times or when faced with negativity?
There's a couple of things that come to mind with that question. First of all, fabulous question, because there's a difference between believing in positivity and then living it. Um, for myself, I've often been labeled by family members as having toxic positivity because my default is to like, how do I spin this as a good thing? How do I look at this through the best possible lens? But over the last year and a half, I've had a lot of difficulties with my health. And some of that has come from not looking at some of the negative aspects that were going on in my life that I had just had blinders and it was blocking out. So when I was willing to let in some of that negativity, accept it for as it is, then I could also accept, hey, my body isn't physically where I'd like it to be. And I believe disease like starts with that lack of ease. So there's something emotionally and mentally going on here. And when I became willing to address that, I could reconcile with what I didn't like and use my positive attitude to work through it and allow the situation to pass instead of trying to control it or pretend it didn't happen.
That's brilliant. And the key word, the toxic positivity, so many people don't know what that is. And I learned about it just a few years ago when one of our coworkers and the co-author of our book, Mary Smith, wrote one of our blogs on toxic positivity. And when I read it for the first time, it really resonated with me because growing up, we hear our parents like, if you fall, oh, it'll be okay. Or if something happens, oh, it'll be okay. Don't worry about it. That's toxic positivity. It's not allowing you to feel your feelings or listen to your body. So thank you for sharing that with us. I'll also link in our show notes to our blog on toxic positivity in case anyone is interested in learning more about it. And you really do have to listen to your body because our bodies are telling us so much and we can control our body so much with our mind, right? So I've known people who have gotten very ill. And if they've had a positive mental attitude, they actually have been able to heal themselves. So it's definitely an important thing to keep in mind. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, I think there's a dance there because I have a sibling who has a lot of chronic health conditions. And I've always struggled with, I refuse to allow myself to see myself as a sick person. And that often keeps me from getting sick. But at the same time, when I'm in a place where things are happening to me, I actually got a lot from her lived experience of like, how has she navigated trying to build her health back up? So in many ways, the positivity can sometimes be a blinding factor to what is really needed, which is to let in a lot of those emotions that maybe I wanted to avoid.
That's a really good point. Thank you for adding that. I appreciate it. Nate, what message or words of encouragement would you like to share with our listeners who aspire to make a positive difference in the world?
It starts with one decision right now. It's that simple. If you're holding on to something that isn't serving you, or you find yourself in constant arguments or constant negativity, just make a choice. I'm choosing to be positive in this moment and be gentle with yourself. I have concrete action that I'd recommend. I'd recommend you go out and you both read and practice the 4 agreements, because if you keep the 4 agreements top of mind, it's literally impossible to get bogged down by negativity.
That is great advice. I love that book. Mary, our co-author, was on our show a few weeks ago, and she shared the same advice. It's a really good book. I will link that in our show notes again for any of you that are interested in reading it. It's a quick read. Thank you, Nate, for sharing that. Nate, this has been such an honor and so great to have this conversation with you. I really enjoyed our time together. I'm grateful for you.
Yeah, likewise, Gregg. I appreciate you having me on the show. And more importantly, I appreciate what you're doing for the world. Anyone who could be an amplifier of positivity is doing the right thing.
Thank you so much. And for our listeners, if you're interested in getting in touch with Nate, we'll provide his LinkedIn information in our show notes. And thank you for joining us today. We are so grateful that you are here and taking some time out of your day for another daily dose of positive influence. If you have friends or family members that you think could use a little dose of positive influence, please share our podcast with them. Until next time, we hope you have an amazing day. Bye-bye.